Hello and welcome to Minute Gaming. I'm Nick on some of the comms, of course, Justin providing audio commentary in his own brand of madness where applicable. So, another day, another story. This time, I didn't actually expect to hear this, but you know GameStop, right? The games company that sells games? That thing. Well, the Canadian version of it, which used to be EB Games, is now becoming EB Games again. Turns out they got bought up by a toy maker, Stephen Tetro. And so yeah, there's now a mass rebranding. They're going back to EB Games. It's this whole big thing all over the place.
It's it's
Tetro
it's
him
it's kind of a big thing for like those who are in
Canadians.
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing for the Canadians. As for why Ubisoft, why the heck was I going to say Ubisoft? As to why GameStop actually, maybe it's because they both have stop in the name somewhere. Anyways, because they're both French. Anyways, the reason why GameStop was willing to sell is because apparently, according to the articles, it is actually part of their kind of cost cutting. They're looking to sell their foreign assets. So GameStop is part of, or GameStop Canada is part of that foreign assets division. So they're looking to sell off and continue to cost cut, cost cut, cost cut. Whether that actually saves them in the long run, who knows. So yeah, that's a thing. The 185 stores across Canada will again be rebranded as EB Games. I'm curious to see how this actually plays out in terms of like deals and stuff like that. It feels like a weird thing to mention, but because GameStop has a few things that they do, I wonder how it'll actually play out on an actual like policy level, right? Will it just be a big rebranding? Will it be like, hey, EB Games is here, but nothing changes other than that? We'll see. I mean, Tetro himself actually went on a bit where he actually, I think it was an article by, articles down in the description, by the way, by Scion. Scion? Sion? Sion. I'm going to pronounce Sion. I feel that's right. Where Tetro himself went on a thing and said the acquisition marks a new chapter for the Canadian. Or that's not him. This is what he said. This isn't just a business decision. It's about bringing something back that Canadians truly loved. We're going to build something special here with community, nostalgia, and innovation at its heart. We want EB Games to be more than just a store. We want it to be a hub for gaming and fandom culture around the world. So, call me crazy, but that kind of sounds like exactly what GameStop was trying to do. They're trying to diversify just from gaming itself. For those who don't know, the reason why GameStop is trying to diversify from gaming is kind of because of the fact that it used to be a very big business. Still kind of is, but EB Games. Because Amazon has very much exists now, so a lot of people buy their stuff from Amazon. Honestly, this is actually a really good point because I myself actually just canceled an order from EB Games, or GameStop, EB Games now, I guess, to buy it on Amazon because I was going to buy the new Doom Dark Ages. Good Nor, I'm just pronouncing everything wrong today. Doom Dark Ages from GameStop, but because they couldn't have the deluxe edition, because I guess they're sold out because it's close to the time where shipments come in, I had to actually buy it off Amazon, so I had to cancel the order from there. That said, I still buy a lot of shit from there. I still prefer buying stuff from there compared to Amazon, so... But, you know, because of the existence of Amazon, the games market is no longer as dominated by games like stores like GameStop as EB Games it used to be. So, you know, competition has forced a mass kind of regression for them. For those who don't know, if you don't live in Canada, there used to be EB Games all over the place. Just like one on every corner. There. It was all over the
They were
place.
everywhere.
They were everywhere, legitimately. That is not hyperbole.
Yeah.
But because, like I said, the mass kind of regression they've had to deal with and kind of the pullback and cost cutting, a lot of those stores closed. Now there's like one in a mall here, one in a mall there. Like they're still around, don't get me wrong, but they're not as big as they used to be. On a side note, in the UK, there's actually a brand called Game. I'm not sure if they have any association with GameStop. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm seeing some of their stores close too, so I wonder if there's some similarities here. Like I said, this comes around the time of the cost cuts for GameStop when they're trying to sell off their foreign assets. So I wonder if Game falls under there. Don't quote me. I haven't looked into Game and who owns them. Maybe they're just owned by themselves in the UK. But this comes around the time I actually saw the one game store that I knew in the UK where I was staying in Aberdeen closed down, like in all of Aberdeen. So maybe,
Maybe.
maybe this is connected. So yeah, Tetro himself bought it up, and they're now rebranding, and the marketing is coming fast and hard. Actually, EB Games on Instagram, I did not know they still maintained. Oops, you might hear my clock in the background. EB Games, which I did not know still maintained their EB Games Instagram account. I thought they were now all under GameStop. EB Games Canada is still apparently a thing. Has recently posted and has now done this mass marketing thing of like 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of just like this big kind of thing, you know,
Notifying
hey, we're
everybody
back.
about what's going on. Hey, the changes we're making.
Yeah, the changes we're making. Tetro now owns us. Canada, 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 Canada. Like literally, there's Canada like every third word. Which kind of brings me to a more interesting point here, and kind of the overall, I want to say meta, but that's not the proper word. Kind of overall story that I think comes from this. Recently, if you haven't been following political news, yeah, I know there is a point. Don't click off. There's a point. Um, Trump said something stupid. Now I know that in itself is not news. That's like kind of the sky is blue concept. But back when he first got put in for his second term, he made a comment on how he wants Canada to become the 52nd state. 53rd state, 52nd, 52nd state. I think. Yeah,
51st.
51st. Excuse me.
I believe it's
I can't remember if it's
51st.
51st, second, third.
I believe it's 51st.
It's been a while. My education, despite being a U.S. citizen, was actually in Canada because I live in Canada.
Yes.
So geography down there is not as good as it could be for, homegrown U.S. citizens. Regardless, so he wanted them to become the 51st state. Or 52nd, or whatever. That sparked a lot of disdain from the Canadians, who have always had a decent relationship with the U.S. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good relationship there. But they all hate Trump. So that didn't go over well. Granted, this is also the guy who said he wants to own Greenland, which also went over as bad as you would imagine. So
Yeah.
that sparked a lot of Canadian nationalism, as you can imagine. So a part of me wonders, sitting here, if this doesn't have something to do with it. This whole Canada spiel, the fact the marketing material has Canada on every third line, it almost reminds me, you know what? It almost reminds me of what Target did. When Target came up from Canada, or Target came up from the US, if you're not aware, Target is a big brand in the US. It's like a big, kind of almost Walmart store. They came up from the US a few years back, or attempted to, and their marketing was just loaded with Canada, 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 Canada. They were trying to pull on that nationalism vibe. Long story short, didn't work out for them. They got kicked back to the States real fast. But I wonder if this isn't part of that kind of logic as well, This whole anti-Trump movement, Canada nationalism, we're independent, blah, 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 patriotism bullshit. So I wonder if this isn't, kind of related to that somewhere. But again, that's just a harebrained spin foil theory.
If anything, I mean, the timing of things right now is very much in that line of anyone and everyone in Canada who is a Canadian company is going to jump on that wagon and try to get all the Canadian citizens onto their product or company.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the timing of how it is right now.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just a spinfoil hat theory, but it just kind of lines up too perfectly in my mind anyway. I mean, the guy himself, Stephen... Tetron? I can't remember his name now. But, Stephen, when he bought the company, he could have just left it as is. He'd been like, okay, we're now, EB Games Canada again, da-da-da-da, nothing's changing, continue on, keep calm and carry on, if the British would say. Funny because I was told that's actually a shtick from World War II. Anyways, none of there. The point is, nothing could have really been said. Just, we're EB Games now, carry on. But instead, there's all this Canada talk around it,
Yes.
For the Canadian customer, for the Canadian taste, for the Canadian palate, blah, 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 blah. Just, like I said, it just lines up too perfectly, if you ask me.
Yep.
As for Tetro himself, that's his name, Tetro. He himself is actually a toy maker, or has a hand in the toy business. Have here, he himself is actually, let me just look here. Yes. He is himself actually the founder of, oh god, French names. Biorsbrand, a Quebec-based toy manufacturer. Dragons, and co-owner of an American action figure company, McFarlane Toys, which I've actually heard of. So, he also, interestingly enough, is the partner in the Canadian chain Mastermind Toys. So he's got a lot of hands in the Canadian hobby and toy market. So if nothing else, he does know what he's doing, at least as far as the entertainment business is concerned, if you want to count toys in the entertainment business. Hobby business, let's call it. Yeah, hobby business feels better. So he clearly knows kind of what he's doing in that regard. He's not like some banker that's buying it up and knows complete ball about what he's doing. So, like I said, it might be interesting to see where this goes from here. Um, as you know, GameStop was part of the whole meme stock craze on Wall Street, as they're calling it.
Yeah,
That
that
rose the
was an
stock.
event in a while ago.
That was an event. If memory serves, the reason why, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't remember too much of it, but basically what ended up happening, if memory serves, is a bunch of people got together, bought up a bunch of stocks in GameStop to kind of mess around with the stock market, kind of to keep it from going under, as kind of a bit of spite to GameStop, memory serves. And investors, being investors, saw a bunch of stocks getting bought, and, well, as like the lemmings they are, just ran after it and just kept buying it. Buying, buy. And then promptly sold them all off, and the original people made a bunch of money.
Yep.
Which artificially inflated the stocks to all hell and back. Long story short, GameStop made a ton of money off the meme stock thing, because like I said, they're the ones who are, selling their stocks. So they're getting a ton of money. And then, like I said, when those stocks got dumped, the stock price promptly fell back down again. Like I said, investors are lemmings. They go wherever the people buy things. So that was interesting. Ever since then, though, GameStop has kind of been on I don't want to say decline. They've been kind of trying to come back in the last few years. Like I said, they've been trying to rebrand themselves as more of a hobby place. Like I said, much like how Tetron views the company. It's kind of a hobby game store. I remember hearing a while back, and again, don't quote me here, but there was like this idea, this mock-up GameStop made up, where like they wanted to have GameStop as this kind of like almost like next generation version of our arcade minus the arcade machines, where people come and they do hobbies and they talk games, they talk shop about games and they buy games and they try games and it's board games, and it was a high in the sky idea. Whether you actually consider that GameStop or not is neither here nor there, but it was an idea. Rose, like I said, going down a similar route. Whether he'll go to the same high in the sky degree that, GameStop OG was trying to do, we will have to wait and see. Or, maybe he'll just keep things the way they are. I mean, they're selling a lot of action figures these days, and Warhammer stuff is apparently in there now, and I actually was in there a few days ago. They sell vinyl records for soundtracks, for game soundtracks, so there goes my money. So hey, at least one of their methods is going to get me back. Well, not like it's going to get me back in. I still go in there, but it's going to make me spend more. But anyways. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in the whole GameStop debacle. Let us know what you... Actually, let us know. What do you think, Justin? What do you think about this whole thing? I haven't actually asked you your opinions.
I'm going to say, overall, they're rebranding, they're resetting a few things here and there. Overall, I kind of expected that like they're gonna go the kind of directions I feel like they're gonna go. So overall, I don't really think too much is changing besides like a rebrand name type thing. So I don't know. I'm not expecting anything too crazy out of this.
Yeah. I doubt we'll be return to form for EB Games beyond just the name change, like you say. Like, we're not probably going to go back to the days where I remember where it was wall-to-wall games. I genuinely remember that, where there was like games in the center, wall-to-wall games. It was flipping beautiful. It's like a cathedral for me. But yeah, I doubt we're seeing that. Probably just going to be a rebrand, but you never know. Like I said, Tetra might do something completely off the walls and really appeal to the Canadian market. As a guy with a soon-to-be business degree and several diplomas in business, I'm not even sure what the hell that means beyond pedal maple syrup. But, who knows? Like I said, he's got a bigger hand in the toy manufacturing business and toy business in Canada, so maybe he knows something. Well, he probably does know something.
He might have something going on.
So anyways, that's our show. Hope you all enjoyed. Let us know down in the comment section. Are you going to go back to EB Games now that it's rebranding? Do you still buy at GameStop now to be EB Games? What's your opinion? Do you like, do you like this guy? Have you heard of him? Do you think he'll do a good job? Let us know down in the comments. It helps the algorithm. And I'm honestly very just curious on a personal note what people think of all this. So yeah, that's our show. Have a good one. Have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever your time zone is. And bye, everybody.
Have a good one.